Today we will be diving into the future of Hytale with World Gen V2, and we are currently in it in the Dragonspire Weald. We will also be visiting the end of the world generation at the 32-bit limit. Someone did the math as I showed you here, and it's all good stuff, guys. First, let's have a look at Dragonspire. This is probably one of the better World Gen V2 worlds. There are more, I'm gonna show you all. But the interesting parts, it's not finished, by the way. As you can see, there is no ores, nothing. And Simon says as much every chance he gets. But the interesting part about this world and some others are that it actually is generating infinitely, just like the main world. So you already know what it means, right? We are going to see how it affects the Stripelands and the Chunklands. I mean, it looks all beautiful, and this, oh my god, I cannot wait till they finish the World Gen V2, right? Look at the smoke and everything. But the Stripelands, guys, how does it look? Well, I will not let you wait any longer. Here it is. These are the Stripelands of the World Gen V2. Floaty bear, by the way. But as you can see, it behaves somewhat similarly, actually on the same block, on the same distance. That is not so much surprising, although I mean, it could have been different, right? I mean, I don't know, maybe in the final version it will be, but it's clearly it's a different generation, but it's the same, you know, same stuff. It happens at the same parts, and kind of interesting. And here we're going to look at the Chunklands, of course, which is also happening at exact the same spot as the World Gen V1. Kind of interesting, and it looks somewhat similar, except of course there are no dungeons and no ores and no good stuff underground, so that gives it a little bit of a different view. And of course the atmosphere, it's all whitey and cloudy and stuff. Still, it is really interesting to me. I kind of wanted to have this on video, because you know, maybe in 5 or 10 years it's totally different and you are not able to visit this anymore. Simon said as much on the website, that the old world generation will no longer work, and perhaps this is gone as well. It will be different, so it's a nice time capsule. Or capsule. And here we are in another World Gen V2 test. Well, I don't know how to pronounce it, but you saw it on screen, and you know, it's a little bit different. There's not a lot of trees and stuff. There is some cave generation here on the ground, which is kind of interesting and so dark. So even if you set some lights like I'm trying, it's still really dark. But yeah, it's made of wood, some kind of wood. These caves, it doesn't look like wood, but it's wood. If you chop it and you pick it up, it's wood, which is kind of interesting to see what they're gonna do with it. But it also proves that the cave system works in World Gen V2, right? It works. Here's the proof. I mean, you can go from the overworld into the underworld, or cave world, how do you want to pronounce it. But again, the interesting thing is I started flying, and because I'm not sure, is it infinite already? And yes, guys, this world is infinite, and it is so painful to get there. You cannot just teleport, because you will get kicked out if you teleport to 500 million at once. So you have to go slowly like this, and I'm speeding it up. But you also have only 5 minutes, so it's kind of hard, but I manage, guys, I manage. Here it is. Here are the Stripelands of this world in World Gen V2, which is, again, it's somewhat similar, but here there are caves underground again, like there are not in the other. And we're also going to be looking at a little bit further away, like I'm trying to do now. And there you can have a better view of the cave systems at all. And again, it's behaving quite similarly. I do see double layer of sand, which is kind of interesting. I don't really know why. I've seen it in World Gen V1, that stuff happening, not specifically with sand, but some parts. Maybe it's just because of the glitchiness, you know. And yeah, it's still working at 500 million. You can still build blocks and remove them, I guess. Even the sand physics are, well, I mean, depends on your definition of working, but it seems to be somewhat working, right? But enough of that. Let's go to the Chunklands of this World Gen V2 world. And yeah, surprisingly, it's not same. Or I mean, it is same. Also, I learned that the voids is actually invalid space, guys. It's not that it's not rendering fully. It is rendered fully. This is the whole world, but the parts that's nothing is invalid space. If you go there, you get kicked out, and the map is corrupted. Every time you set up the portal, it's a new map. So very painful and tedious to get here, let me tell you about that. But I did it, and now we are going to go to the 32-bit limit of the game. But again, warning, if you are sensitive to flickering lights or have epilepsy, do not continue watching, it's not for you. Alright, here we are very close to the 32-bit integer limit of World Gen V1. Of course the V1, because it's so tedious, the worlds corrupt so fast, I have to reload, remake worlds so often that I just cannot do it in the 5 minute, and you know, if I get kicked out I have to generate a new world, it doesn't work. But as we just saw, World Gen V2 for now behaves similarly, so we can expect similar results. And here we moved up a little bit to 264 of the last 3 digits, and you know, the end is 600 something, I don't know out of my head, but we'll get there. And I'm trying to move this, and it took a long time, guys. It looks maybe somewhat smooth in the video because I chop it up a little, well, not a little, actually a lot. I remove a lot, but that's just to make it easier for you to view. But it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of new maps, it takes again and again and again, because it will just crash or it will not show anything. And yeah, here is a different map, but here I managed to go to, oh, I believe it's a different map, I don't know, man, it's confusing. 520, which is 1 block away or 1 stripe away from the 32-bit limit, which is crazy. You can barely see the last block. This is the last block, and here we are. This is the 32-bit limit, and in the left you can slightly see that patch of land that we were on, and that is the last stripe that is rendered. You see it in the left? It's very hard to see because it's quite a distance, but on the other side of the 32-bit limit, there's just nothing. There's nothing. That's the last stripe of land that's loaded and then is gone. It's just done. I've tried over and over, but at 32 bits, it's empty. It's just empty, which is kind of quite interesting. In Minecraft, I believe if you look at it even, then it crashes or something like that. So, I don't know. The next step is for someone to make a 64-bit mod or something to go further, but it's not rendering, so it needs some complex changes, right? And here are some bonus videos of the new World Gen V2 explorations, but the caveat is that these worlds are not infinite. They are not fully done. They are, of course, the others are not fully done as well, but they are not even infinitely. So, you know, it's just interesting to see what kind of worlds they have in mind. Maybe this is a different planet. Well, this is perhaps not a different planet, but different biomes, different types, and you know, what kind of things do they have planned. As you can see, no ores as well, no caves, so this is again very basic. You know, I don't really know what your purpose is here, maybe to defeat a dragon or something. That's most often the case, right? But yeah, regardless, as I said, it is interesting. This is all generated, and you don't really see stuff like this yet in the V1, and I'm sure the V2 when it's out will look much better, but that's also why these videos are fun for later, years later. You know, well, look at it at fun, like, oh wow, look at that, it looked so crappy compared to what it is now, right? I guess, I hope so. I have faith in them, guys. And here is another world that's also a World Gen V2 or exploration type of small world, right? It ends very quick. I'll show you the end just so you can sleep easy, but it's not infinite is what I'm saying, but it is beautiful. And again, this doesn't have any caves or something, so there's nothing to explore underground. As you can see right now, it's just empty. Of course there are blocks if you dig, but it's just sand, and at some point you reach the limit bedrock, and if you know, remove that, then you just fall through the world. There's nothing to see underground. That's what it basically means, but there's a lot to see above the ground, and it's, you know, it's yeah, it's interesting. I like that this is the future of the game, because this is very different from Minecraft, of course, and very different from the World Gen V1. And I assume these are just small test guys again, so it should change a lot, and it will be a lot better. And you know, personally, I hope there will be a little bit less water in the world, because right now it's a lot of islands and a lot of water. But I hope the islands will be bigger, like it is not so big, or more biomes, I guess, like this stuff added. I don't know if this is supposed to be like maybe a little bit like the end, but yeah. And here we have the last you know, World Gen V2 world, the Dread Wade, which is very cool. I like this. It's very scary and very spooky, swampy stuff. Yeah, I am so into this. I would like if a world like this is generated just in the overworld somewhere, and you know, just bigger islands, so less water. So no, I like the idea of, you know, getting a boat and going to the other place. But, and by the way, it's also not infinite, guys, just like the others, just ends here, just a map man-made, I guess. But it is supposed to be what World Gen V2 looks like for some place, or at least for now the concept of it, right? Which is interesting enough. You don't have to tell me twice, right? I'm very into this. If there's anything new, I will find it and cover it, right? I also saw some other leaked stuff of the World Gen that I still have to look into, but yeah, it didn't look interesting enough for video, but it is interesting to me. Yeah, and I have a giant tree, by the way, which presumably just spawns out of nothing, right? And I'm gonna assume with interesting dungeons and stuff is the end goal. And here we have like the mini boss, or I don't know if it's a boss or whatever, but yeah, you can clearly see the design goal. And look at this, guys, look at the vista. Imagine if it was in the world and you're here in bumfuck nowhere, lost, and all these clouds and stuff. And these clouds are so, it makes the game so much better looking than Minecraft. It really is vibey, and it's really a signature of World Gen V2, so I cannot wait for it to happen. Let me know in the comments if you can't wait as well, if you're still hyped, or if you're back to Minecraft. Let me know, guys. See you in the next one.